monitoring these cloud bots, super critical. And this is a type of thing that anyone can hook Raindrop into and get like a sense of like what's going on. I think this is only going to get more important. Like these agents are only getting more complex. A lot of great things start out as like toys or memes. I think we've all had conviction for a long time that like the future economy is one that is going to be run by agents. There is a piece of technology so capable and so fast to do all of these things. It's just like the natural course of evolution.
Welcome to InProd, conversations with founders and operators who are building the next wave of AI companies. We go deep on product execution, go-to-market, and the messy middle of building a business. If you're an aspiring founder, operator, or just startup curious, this is your inside look at how companies actually get built.
Before we get to the episode, Laura and I are excited to announce a partnership with Overlap. Fresh out of Y Combinator's summer batch, Overlap is an AI-driven app that uses large language models to curate the best moments from podcast episodes. Imagine having a smart assistant who reads through every podcast transcript, finds the best parts or parts most relevant to your search, and strings them together to form a new, curated stream of content. That is what Overlap does. I personally use Overlap to explore content on future podcast guests and highly recommend it as another diligence tool for investors. Check out Overlap on the App Store today.
Today, we are joined by Alexis, co-founder of Raindrop, an AI-native observability platform for agents. Raindrop works with teams like Clay, Replit, Framer, and Avoca, helping them understand and operate agents in production. Welcome, Alexis.
Thanks so much for having me. Excited to chat.
So you and your co-founders have known each other for a long time, and you even built a company that was later acquired by Coinbase. Maybe touch on how that company shaped the way you think about building products and teams today.
So maybe I can just give you a little bit of background about me and my co-founders and then kind of dive into this. So yeah, we've all been best friends for a long time. I have two co-founders, Zubin and Ben. Zubin and I met in college, and then we've worked together for 8 years, actually. We built our previous company together and sold it to Coinbase. While that was happening, Zubin and Ben were roommates. Ben was at Apple doing engineering and then design on the Apple Vision Pro. And we'd all always just be hanging out and hacking on things. And so when it came time for us to think about, what we wanted to do next, the three of us were actually just hacking on stuff. This was around 2 years ago. And we were building coding agents. This was before GitHub Copilot had launched their chat. Like as engineers, we found ourselves just copy pasting from ChatGPT all the time. And that was super annoying. So we're like, okay, why don't we just build something for ourselves? And so it really just started as just like a thing for ourselves. And then our friends wanted it and then other people wanted it. And so it became this agent product basically. And one of our biggest learnings, I think, from that and from our previous company was that you want to be your own user. It just helps you iterate so much faster. And it was literally as we were building that coding agent that users would come to us and we'd experience things ourselves where we'd be like, why is it dumber today? Or I tried this thing 3 times. It's still not working. And so we ended up building out a set of internal tools to solve our own problem, finding issues with our coding agent. And that later became Raindrop. But being your own user, I think, lets you have this self-awareness, solve your own problems, actually understand what's actually important. So that's been a consistent thread for us throughout.
For sure. And I think a lot of people say they want to work with their close friends, and I'm sure many do, but it doesn't always work out. What do you think made it work for you three? Touch on maybe dividing roles and responsibilities.
I think we all honestly have very complementary skill sets. We've all been friends for a long time, and I think that's really powerful. It creates this just strong baseline of trust and shared values, which I think are some of the most critical things when you're trying to build something massive. When you want to build something that lasts for a long time and really just changes how people operate in the world. You want to have shared values. You want to be able to trust each other in the hard moments with the hard decisions. So I think it's honestly a huge advantage. We can also kind of read each other's minds at this point, which makes communication really great. And yeah, we all have super complementary skill sets. I think we all are still very intentional to have friend time. That's just friend time for itself, which is great. I think we context switch pretty seamlessly between a work conversation or a friend conversation, but I think it's still good to be intentional and carve out, we're just going to go do this thing for fun.
Are there any values that you brought from your previous life into Raindrop that you think define the company?
Totally. I think a big value at our previous company was like growth mindset. We really, really believe that like anyone can do anything. Like at our previous company, we would have learning groups every single week where someone would like teach something new to everyone else. And the idea was that like, we always want to be learning. Everyone can expand themselves as long as they have the desire to. And I feel like we've definitely brought that over to Raindrop. It's like everyone on the team is super growth oriented. Like we're all obsessed with like our own exponential learning curves along with the company's learning curve. And so it's just progress all the time. Really, really good, like perpetual motion machines almost.
That's awesome. I think before we go too far in, maybe just touch on like what is Raindrop? How did you land on the
Yeah.
idea of like agent observability?
So Raindrop does issue detection for AI agents. We help AI engineering teams at some of the fastest growing AI companies like Replit, Speak, Clay, etc., find and fix issues with their agents. So this is anything from an agent getting stuck in a loop, to it forgetting things, to tool calls failing, to other unknown unknowns, or like custom issues that engineering teams wanted to find. And we came to this problem because we had it ourselves when we were building our coding agent. And so we faced this firsthand like 2 years ago at this point. And it's been crazy to just see, how much things have changed over the last year. I will say, I think we were kind of early to this problem, and especially our approach, because there weren't really people building like agents that could do things at that time. And now that they're so widespread, I think it's just become really obvious to people how important this problem is, especially with all the nuts things that they can just go do.
So maybe a practical example of how has Raindrop been used like in production? I know you guys have some amazing logos.
I mean, there's so many examples, honestly. I think like, one interesting one that comes to mind is so one of our customers, Spirals, they had like their launch for their new, like they're like a writing app, and they had a launch not that long ago. And on their launch day, one of their tool calls started failing. And they were able to see that from a Raindrop alert. It was like a pretty important tool call, like opened up like a document, which showed like the results of the writing situation. This was affecting like a third of users. And so Raindrop sends alerts to customer Slacks, and they're able to identify issues and see what went wrong. So we did a case study with them about this because they were able to solve it day one when it was affecting a third of users on launch day, which is crazy. So,
First off, incredible that you were able to spot that in that time period. But agents, while I think they're newer in production, they're not a new concept. People have been trying to build probably for a few years now after ChatGPT had the big launch. Before Raindrop, like how were people discovering that their agents were
yeah.
failing? Was it more of a trust issue, reliability, cost?
Honestly, like even with teams that we work with before they start using Raindrop, we ask them this question, like, what are you guys doing now? And for everyone, it's usually one of two things. Either they're just waiting for something to get bad enough that a user tells them about it, or like even worse, it lands in like the press as like some sort of big debacle, bad. Or they're just like sitting there reading logs manually. Like they have like a team of employees that just like read logs manually. Like they're paying multiple human beings to like do this task, which is crazy. And so that's kind of like what the old world used to look like. But then with Raindrop, they just like hook it up to their agents, and then we send notifications when bad things happen. And we let teams track specific signals that they use to define if their agent is doing well or not well, that they can also track and get notified about.
Are you able to take it to the next level to actually help remediate or offer solutions
Yeah,
for these errors?
absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, the way we see this problem is it's basically two steps. One, you want to find the issue. Two, you want to fix the issue. And a big goal for us this year is to really start closing this loop. So P0 has been nail find it. Get really, really good at finding these issues and alerting these teams about it. And then once we have that incredibly nailed down, we want to really dive into like the fix it side of things. And, I think there's a couple ways to do this. We have like a new way to visualize and understand long agent trajectories, which will be launching in the next couple weeks. So potentially by the time this is live. So yeah, very excited for everyone to see that. And I think that's going to be a big step in the fix it direction. Now, agents run for hours and hours. They're reasoning for long periods of time. They're calling like hundreds of tools. And traditional ways to understand traces are just really hard. You're just sitting there reading through just like incomprehensible data without being able to understand what went wrong where. And this is a new way to just at a glance understand what happened, and then also get deeper into like what the root cause might have been.
When you go back to P0, like what was the hardest technical challenge of like just
Yeah.
being able to spot alerts without having an enormous false positive rate?
It's a really hard problem, actually, which is why I think this thing feels obvious, and we were surprised that no one else had done it yet. But when you get into the weeds, it is like a hard technical problem. Take a coding app like Replit. The issues that they're going to have are completely different from a language learning app like Speak. So you can't have like a one size fits all model to go detect issues within both. So what we ended up doing was creating a pipeline that could automatically train small models for every single customer. And so it actually adapts to the shape of their specific data, can find issues relevant to each customer. And that's how you can actually get high accuracy at low enough cost for something like this to work.
That makes a ton of sense. And when you're building these like small language models, like what does that look like on your end? Is it more like an FDE type model? Like is it a ton of like our compute costs skyrocketing? How fast are you able to spin up?
I mean, this all happens automatically. So like as soon as people integrate, like this is already like happening. And we use a combination of like traditional ML methods and like more like new LLM stuff. So a combination of different things. We're like fine tuning small LLMs. We're also using like traditional classifiers and things like that. And we have a system that works really well at this point. Customers can give feedback if things like within the app, basically like almost like RLHF style. And then the models continuously improve from there.
And if you're working with a team that doesn't know what to monitor, where do you start?
We have basically two different systems. So one are what we call like signals, and the other is like kind of the unknown issue detection. So signals are basically a way for teams that know what they want to track those things. And honestly, like a big way of how we see building agents is that it's basically an optimization problem. You want to, be able to articulate very clearly what your agent should be really good at. And then you want to be able to have metrics that you can use to track, oh, like, is it actually good at these things? And then just keep iterating until you hit where you want to hit on those metrics. So for example, if you're building like a personal assistant agent and you want it to be like really reliable at being like someone's almost like friend, then like memory is really important. So a common signal that like companion apps will track with us is forgetting. They want to see like, okay, like what's the rate that my agent is like forgetting things? Like how is that changing as I'm pushing different changes? So they'll set up that signal. And that's basically something that we can track that they can measure every single deployment against. So that's for like when you know what you want to track, signals are great. For when you don't know what you want to track, we have automatic issue detection. So that will actually just like push a notification into your Slack when we see weird things happening. So that could be like tool call spikes, but also just like different kinds of semantic issues. So for example, if a coding agent is like using a package that just isn't compiling for lots of people, or if an agent is trying to like bill someone for something and it isn't working, we will just send pushes to Slack and then teams can track those issues as signals and make sure they don't recur in the future.
And do you get pushback that the data and build required is somewhat proprietary, and so folks try to build internally? I feel like with the tools nowadays and probably the engineer talent that they're hiring, this you could devote folks to this.
Honestly, a lot of people we talk to have tried to build some sort of internal solution before coming to us. And that internal solution has worked well enough for them for a little while. But as we talked about before, it is actually a really hard problem. Like the secret sauce here is like how we are actually tracking these signals at high cost and low accuracy and how our issue detection systems work. And those are things we are constantly iterating on and constantly improving. Agents are getting way more complex. It's not just I say something and it says something back now. It's like I say something and it goes and thinks, it calls lots of tools. These trajectories are really long and complex. And to deal with the complexity of that data, to pull out issues like silent tool call failures and things that are happening there requires like models that work really, really well for those use cases. And that's like, what we're making better day in and day out. And so, yeah, it's a very common thing that we see. And then at some point people graduate to using Raindrop, or, some people out of the gate are like, we should obviously just be using Raindrop. Why are we wasting our time making something that's just not really going to work well?
And I feel like a lot of the traditional ML vendors haven't quite caught up yet, or you're like a Datadog and you're still just focused on general observability and the monitoring logs, but haven't really evolved to the agentic side of the world.
It's been interesting. I think we felt this pain ourselves And I think that's why we were able to get on top of this earlier than most people and like develop out these systems to where they're, ready now that agents are crazy and doing all these things. We really just had that conviction because we were our own user and we felt the pain.
Does Raindrop evolve or shift the strategy in an agent to agent world? Or were there any ideas or comments you had around some of the recent activity with Claudebot?
Cloud bots are crazy. They're crazy. Yeah, no, it's been honestly really wild to see everywhere that they've gotten into. My co-founder was talking about it the other day, but we had someone like a big cloud company, like their cloud bot like texted us and we were like, that's crazy. Like from a data perspective, that is not okay. And so monitoring these cloud bots, super critical. And this is a type of thing that anyone can hook Raindrop into and get like a sense of like what's going on. I think this is only going to get more important. Like these agents are only getting more complex. As they get more complex and more capable, we deploy them in higher stake situations. We give them more responsibility. And with more responsibility, it means there's more things that can go wrong. And so having a good understanding of what those things are and being able to get alerted so you can fix those things, I think is like only getting more critical. We're absolutely thinking in this direction. Yeah, we have a lot cooking in this area.
Now, a quick word from our sponsor. Laura and I are thrilled to announce a partnership with Grata, an intuitive deal sourcing and diligence platform. Keep missing out on private market deals? Ditch the Rolodex and get Grata. Grata's AI-powered platform provides accurate data, deep insights, and time-saving workflows that help get more deals done. And it's trusted by over 500 firms and 3,000 deal makers, including myself. I've personally used Grata in both my deal sourcing and diligence workflows and would recommend their tool to any investor across private equity, growth equity, corp dev, or investment banking. We've negotiated a special offer for our audience. Mention PartnerPath to the Grata team during sign-up, and you'll get free executive seats for your partners and MDs included in your subscription. Now, back to the episode.
Do you think that what's happening now is determinant of what's like actually going to happen? Or do you think this is a phase that we're going through in like a bit of a meme?
A lot of great things start out as like toys or memes. I think we've all had conviction for a long time that like the future economy is one that is going to be run by agents. If there is a piece of technology so capable and so fast to do all of these things, it's just like the natural course of evolution. And for companies that want to make their agents better, you have to know where they're failing and where they're breaking so that you can make improvements. And for people that want to monitor their agents to make sure they're not getting up to no good, which now they have more capability to do. You really just need software that can reliably tell you when things are going wrong. It's funny, but you really do need an agent to monitor the agents.
For sure. You're tackling one area of agent infrastructure, which is objectively a very important issue, as we've learned today. But do you think there's other areas in the stack that you think are mission critical for companies to adopt as they're building internal or external facing agents?
The first thing that comes to mind is like stuff around like, more traditional security, like, web security, like making sure that like you have the like proper access controls, like data's locked down. Yeah, seeing these cloud bots getting their hands everywhere. I think you just want to have your basics covered.
Switching into how you play in the broader playground, eval, like LLM monitoring space, where do these approaches break once they're in production? Because I think when evals and observability was first coined a concept, and it's extremely acknowledged across engineering leaders that you need this and it's important to see what's breaking and what's going wrong and like, benchmark across your data. But I don't know if it's been like widely adopted yet. And so I'm kind of just curious of where do these systems break once they're in production?
I think there's definitely a time and place for evals, for your prompt playgrounds, and that's usually when you are developing your AI product or your agent locally. And you're just, trying to get things off the ground. You're still kind of in development mode. You want to try like different prompts on things. Evals become like unit tests or regression tests to make sure nothing is going like woefully bad before you ship something. So that's important. But once you actually get into production, and these days, given the complexity of things that are going on, you can't possibly like delineate every single possible infinitude of edge cases in your evals. You actually just need to have eyes on what's happening in production and be able to solve things quickly. And so something that a lot of our, customers do is run A/B tests. So they'll make a prompt change or a pipeline change, especially our most frontier customers that have like really, really complex agents, make a prompt change or a pipeline change. You run an A/B test with like some small subset of users. And then you go into Raindrop and you see like, how did that affect your signals? So did negative signals go down with this change? Did positive signals go up? Is there something unexpected spiking? Like, are aesthetic complaints for websites spiking after this change? Do you need to go make a fix before you actually roll it out to 100% of users? So that's a flow that we've seen become more common and more impactful with the increasing agent complexity.
Zooming out a little bit, if you're becoming an agent infrastructure builder, where are the unsolved problems today?
A big thing that we're focused on is closing this loop, getting it much faster to go between like finding something and fixing something. So that's like a big thing we're focused on. Another big thing is just like keeping up and looking and getting ahead of the complexity of these things is like an important one. So I think those are like the two biggest areas that like I'm thinking about like day in and day out is like agents are getting more complex. How do we update our issue detection methods to work really, really well for those things? And then two, how do we actually just like help people fix these problems? How do we reduce as much friction as possible? Like, when right now we send an issue alert to your Slack, eventually, does that come with a PR? Is that a tool that we can give an agent? It can just go start fixing things.
Are there like capabilities that you're able to do ahead of the models getting better? For example, models are quite deterministic and they know, they know in terms of what good looks like. So the coding models are really good because you can train on good coding or strong code bases. Like in terms of observability, like you said, the future is a bit unknown and potential issues that you can't predict. So are you able to somehow technically get ahead of where the models could be going?
It's easier to kind of see what's going wrong than you're just looking for things that are like anomalies, basically. You're looking for things that are different. And then you can, once you have like your detected anomalies, you can actually go in and like understand what's going on in those areas. So even for us, it's about knowing what the right signals are for when things look weird and using the signals that our customers set up too as like kind of guiding lights for where to narrow in. I mean, a lot of this is just like narrowing in on the right slice of data. With a big data problem, you have just like tons and tons of data. You can't possibly look through every single piece of data. And so you want to have the right heuristics to go slice, slice, slice until you get to like an interesting problem.
Are there any interesting internal AI use cases that you guys are doing right now?
Ooh, yeah. I mean, we use AI a lot internally for sure. We're still our own users, honestly. And so anything that like users get, like we've banged out internally first. So we have like our deep search product, which has been really, really popular with people. It's like deep research for your production data. And it's what people use to set up like what we call classifier signals. So you can ask deep search, like, okay, track every single time like the agent created like, a website with bad aesthetics. And then you actually just have like a signal that's tracking like all of your bad aesthetic websites, which is crazy. And so we have been doing a project to completely revamp our deep search to make it work much better for agents with these long trajectories. And we've been using it a lot internally. And so it's been fun. It's been really good. It's going to launch in the next week or so to customers. And we're really excited to get their feedback. So I'd say that's a big one. Outside of that, like I think Claude Code is like the best agent in the world right now. It's like a basic answer, but we all like, love to use Claude Code. A bunch of our customers have incredible products that we love using too. Like Speaks language learning agent is great. Been kicking the tires with that a little bit just to like brush up on some French, like that kind of stuff. But yeah, we use pretty much everything. We'll try everything. And we'll like, for example, if you look at our PRs, like you'll see like Devin, Graptile, Bugbot, everyone is just on there. They're all like talking to each other. A lot of our agent usage ends up being in coding because we're trying to ship faster and make ourselves more efficient as engineers.
Yeah, we've been hearing a lot of Claude Code. Even me, and call myself the most technical on the keyboard. And I mean, it's been incredible, the automations that I've been able to build. I don't even use the no code platforms anymore, when
Love that.
I would love to touch on the team a little bit, how big you guys are today. And I know you have a great network, especially having previously built a company. But how did you think about building the team this time around?
So we're 7 people right now, 3 co-founders, 4 engineers, and growing really quickly. Honestly, like we are, not non-traditional people in I think a good way. I think something that surprised me as we've like gone about hiring this time around, because we're hiring pretty aggressively right now. Like we're looking for more incredible engineers as like our customer growth just like explodes. And we, like I never finished college. Like my co-founder Ben went to like, a small school to like study robotics specifically. Like I've been surprised at how many people are like, wait, like you guys don't care about pedigree or like you don't care about this kind of experience or that kind of experience. And I was honestly just surprised that that was like still a question. I'm like, no, like we don't care. Like we care about people that are like, can take a lot of initiative, like can do a really good job, like deeply understand the space. And our team is full of people like that, just like really, really, excellent people who are really, really good at what they do, but are also like ambitious and kind. And yeah, just like really good at what they do, like regardless of like, quote unquote, where they came from.
The talent wars are real. These labs are giving massive contracts. I mean, if you're a 20 or 4-year-old with not a ton of money and you're getting $1 million off the pop, I mean, it's pretty attractive. So that's saying of passion and observability, or you're close to them, but how do you really win talent today? Or if you have any advice for early startups in your position?
It's like funny to say, but I think like one of our competitive advantages is that we're just like having a lot of fun. Like it's just genuinely a really good time. Like we all want to win. We're all like super motivated people. We all, strive for excellence at every single thing we do. And we're also just having an incredible time like working with each other. Like we all see plenty of upside in this problem. This is like a massive problem for many, many reasons. Like the other day someone came up to me and was like, wow, you guys are actually doing like incentive aligned safety. There's no reason, quote unquote, for like enterprises to adopt like safety things sometimes, but they all want to make their agents better. And so they're adopting Raindrop so they can make their agents better. And at the same time, they're making their agents safer. It's like one of the most high impact things you could like possibly be doing, which is crazy. And there aren't that many companies that are at our level of traction and have this small a team, which means that everyone on the team has a lot of ownership, like both literally, like from an equity perspective, and like, figuratively in, every single thing that they're doing day to day. Like people are making decisions, they're working with customers, they're like trying out new ML methods that haven't been tried out before because it's critical for us to do what we do day in and day out. So I think, we're pushing our minds to their frontiers and we're having a really good time while we do it. So it's hard to beat in some ways. Like you just get to do your favorite things with your favorite people.
That is a good sign. How do you think about, I guess, knowing when something's not working and when to take bias to action with a team member? Because I can imagine you're hiring folks that are older than you.
This isn't new to us. Like my previous company, I started hiring people when I was 19, which was like a crazy thing. But I think at the end of the day, like, I don't know, I feel like I've always worked with people who are just like really humble and like really good at what they do and like don't really care about like things beyond just like people's capacity to like do great work. I think because of that, it just hasn't really ever been a problem. Like everyone's just trying to be excellent at what they can do and trying to learn from each other. And that's just the kind of vibe we have.
Yeah, humility goes a long way.
At this stage, I've been working for almost a decade. Like it's a very different place than when I started my first company.
And how old are you now?
I'm 26, but yeah, my co-founders
That's
are both
incredible.
older. Yeah.
We're going to have someone on the show probably next year who's like 23 and they're going to say, I've been working for a decade,
That's crazy. But it's cool. It's like anyone can really just like do anything, like no matter what, you can just do things. It's cliche, but it's true.
I completely agree. Do you think there's any specific skills that like engineers will need to develop to operate these agentic systems effectively that aren't emphasized today? Or is it just in the status quo of what's expected and what people are learning?
One thing that maybe hasn't been as much of an emphasis to date is like multitasking, actually. Like you can be really efficient when you can kick off like different agent threads at the same time and actually hold context for each thing that you're doing at the same time in your brain. And that's not necessarily like, I think, a natural flow for human beings. But when you can do it, it can be very effective. It's almost just like, I guess like a kind of parallel would be like delegating to a team and like giving it, but just like at warp speed. You give people on a team different objectives or different tasks and they go finish that work and then you have to go review it. And you want to keep context of the work that each person is doing so that you can effectively review. And then just compress that to, okay, like that's happening within like an hour and that's every hour. And so a lot of people talk about how their bottleneck is now like review and like maintaining context effectively across different things going on at the same time. So yeah, I think summed up multitasking.
I have that problem and I'm not an engineer. So.
It's a hard problem. Yeah, I think it's anyone that's using agents or, doing things these days.
For sure. Before we hop into the quick fire round, what does 2026 hold for Raindrop? What are you most excited about?
Lots of big things. We're working with just like incredible customers, like people I respect so much, people whose products I use day in and day out. And so we are just learning so much from them. Like they're all at the frontier of building agents. And so by getting to work with them, we get to see into the future a little. And so because of that, like we're working directly with these people to like build solutions to their problems. So like a big one is, okay, agents are getting way more complex. These trajectories are like hours long. How do our issue detection systems work really, really well with all of that? So that's been a big focus, a thing that we've been working on and a thing we're shipping a lot of stuff for. And then the other thing is closing that loop between finding issues and fixing them. So how do we actually create these like very productive loops? And those are kind of the two big things we're focused on this year. And obviously like everything moves really fast. We adapt very quickly.
How do you think about like go-to-market shifting? I know that it's a strong inbound motion today. You're working with some killer AI companies in the Bay, but what does that look like as you go from maybe like an inbound to an outbound strategy?
Yeah, no, we've been lucky that like our customers end up loving the product, telling their engineering friends, and we've grown a lot by word of mouth to date, which is great. And so we hope to keep that moving. We also definitely, we like I post on LinkedIn, like my co-founder Ben posts a lot on Twitter. He's got a fun Twitter. So I mean, yeah, marketing's important. Obviously, like, cold outbound, like meeting people where they are, like educating like enterprise leaders about like what's going on and how we can help. Like all those things are going to keep getting more and more important.
Do you think that the social media engagement is like a good pipeline builder?
Yeah, it is. Like, I mean, Ben has like almost 50K Twitter followers. And honestly, just like he has such a great understanding. I mean, he's an engineer. He's working with this stuff day in and day out. Like, and people really appreciate like his kind of building in public or his analysis or his takes on these things. And so, yeah, it's been super, super great.
It's interesting. Yeah, I mean, Twitter or X has become, I don't know, I think just an amazing channel for like learning, for getting your voice out there, for sourcing, just finding smart people. It's like
Totally.
we're always sharing X threads in our Slack channels now.
Yeah. I mean, it's cool. It's
As
like,
much as people laugh, like
yeah,
there's
it's,
a lot to learn.
and just like, yeah, the speed of communication or speed of information, it's like, it's cool. Blessing and a curse, but cool.
Agreed. Yeah, I can definitely get sucked into these like time warps of doom scrolling, but it's probably better to doom scroll X than Instagram.
I hope so.
Cool. Well, do you want to hop into a quick fire round?
Let's do it.
Do you have a belief or maybe Raindrop that other people disagree with?
There's a couple here. They all feel obvious to me as a problem. But like one of our, big beliefs at Raindrop is that like A/B testing and like having monitoring in production is like way more effective than any sort of like offline evaluation that you could be doing. While there is like a time and a place for evals, like we think that it's just so much higher leverage to be monitoring your agents. And so like that's one that I don't know if people still consider that a hot take, but for a while that was a hot take. And then I don't know, I think I gave some of my hot takes on like hiring earlier.
What is one thing founders shouldn't ignore?
I think your intuition. I think sometimes people can get stuck in their heads, but I think like when your gut and your, heart and mind are like telling you something, that's also really worth listening to.
And what is one question leaders should ask before scaling?
I think that's like, is this a dire problem for people? Like, are they pulling this out of us? And it's so funny because people with product market fit, they're always like, oh, you'll know it when you see it. And it's like the least helpful thing I ever, but you really do know it when you see it. So you'll know it when you see it.
What is the key to hiring early engineers?
I think you want to find people that are like super passionate about the thing that you're working on too. And these people will usually be proactive about it too. Like they'll be building open source projects, in similar-ish domains. They will be just like taking lots of initiative. I think for people that are early at your company, they're basically, like they're owners of everything with you. They're defining what, the future engineering culture is going to look like and what the product shape is going to be. And so you want to be people you really trust, who you really admire, and who you're excited to work with every day.
And at this point in time, this could change, but what is your favorite consumer agentic tool?
Oh, yeah, I mean, the basic answer is Claude Code, but it's true. It's the one I use the most. Like, I'll just be sitting in a cafe and I can just like shoot off ideas to Claude Code and then come home and like review them. And it's like so powerful. So yeah, I do love that. Yeah, I've been using Speak for language learning. That's been pretty fun.
Is it replacing Duolingo?
I never really was able to stick to Duolingo. Like the nice thing with Speak is that you can kind of just like, manufacture different situations that are more realistic and actually just like chat with it. So the flexibility is really nice.
I like that. That's a good plug. But thank you, Alexis. I appreciate you coming on, chatting all things agent and observability today.
Yeah, no, thanks so much for having me. This was really fun.